Hi everyone. Let's talk today about how to improve your balance. So, you might be somebody that worries about hurting yourself, worries about falling over, or tripping, or you might just notice that in yoga class you can never do any of the standing balance exercises as long as somebody else. So, today we are going to get into this topic of how to improve your balance. And I think this is just super important, especially as we age. It can really impact our quality of life just day to day. And then, obviously, if something more acute happens and there is a fall or a fracture or an injury from having a fall, then obviously that can be super detrimental. So, this might be for you. It might be for somebody that you know and love. So if you have a loved one, definitely share this with them if you're thinking about that person. So thanks again for joining me. My name is Linnea Rothenmeier. I have gone from being an injured aerial circus performer with 10 years of chronic neck pain to founding my own Pilates studio here in Olympia, Washington, with a focus on restorative fitness and functional biomechanics. I've personally rehabilitated from 7 different surgeries, a neck injury, a couple head injuries, a herniated disc in my spine. And all of these experiences have really made me smarter, stronger, and more determined than ever to help others on their healing journey. So that is why I'm here today, really wanting to help you on your healing journey. So, thanks again for joining me, and let's dive in. Okay, so how to improve your balance? Um, Unfortunately, there's a lot of exercises that different trainers or therapists will give to their clients and patients, and I just don't think they don't really necessarily work all that great. Sometimes they do, and that's fabulous. And sometimes there's just a little bit too much that's kind of left out of the equation. So I want to talk about, from my perspective, really specifically from kind of the understanding of functional biomechanics and kind of the patterns that we would like to see in healthy movement when we're just walking around throughout our day, and what this can tell us about having healthy balance. Okay, so number one is to stretch out your feet. Okay, I think there's a lot missed here when we just go straight into like try to just stand on one foot. And if you can only do it for 5 seconds, then try to do it for 7 seconds, and thinking that that's going to get you there. Okay, so there's a few things you need to do before that. It's not that that's bad, but it's not necessarily going to get you there if there's like an underlying pattern in your body that's making it really hard to access that easy posture, easy alignment where you would be able to just balance naturally. Okay, so a lot of times that has to do with the feet, and stretching out your feet is going to help give a better opportunity to all of the bones and all the muscles in your feet so that they can find better alignment. Often, I'm actually just thinking about this right now. I'm like, have I ever worked with a client who had really good mobility in their feet and also really struggled with balance? I think more often it's the other way around. More often I see really rigid feet, that with like really grippy toes, things like that. So, stretch out your feet is tip number one. From there, let's talk about alignment. The next thing that you want to do to improve your balance is to actually really focus on the alignment of your lower body. So, what's your hip doing? What's your knee doing? What's your foot doing? The alignment is different than strength. So we can oftentimes skip this and just, again, go straight into try to stand on one leg for longer, try to squeeze those butt muscles harder. And if the alignment isn't there, it's kind of like an uphill battle. Okay, so there's things that we can do that really focus more on the alignment of your bones, the alignment of your joints, the pattern, the way that your foot and knee and hip are all moving together, that we can restore that alignment before we go into more intensive strengthening, and it just makes the whole process work a lot better. So tip number two if you struggle with balance and you want to improve it, is to focus on your alignment. Understand for yourself what's off with your alignment, and work to improve your alignment. That's what I really do with a lot of my clients. Okay, so from there, this is a little bit more the classic prescription, or the classic suggestion and advice is definitely do strengthen your butt muscles, okay? Especially the side butt. So kind of the lateral muscles of the hip are really important for balancing us. And so oftentimes those muscles are a little bit weaker in folks that struggle with balance. And so there's a lot to this one. You know, a classic exercise that people are given a lot is, like you could even Google it, is a side-lying clamshell. And this is a great exercise. I have no complaints with this exercise. I give it to a lot of my clients, but it's also really just a first step. Okay, so if you feel like you've got really bad balance, if you're afraid of falling over, it's a great place to start because you're going to be laying on the floor on your side. It's safe. All of these good things. It really teaches you kind of what your side butt muscles even are, right? But my next suggestion from there, if you're really trying to strengthen your butt muscles, your gluteals, your hips, is that you want to be able to progress. So if you're somebody who's struggled with your balance and you've been doing something like side-lying clamshells for potentially years, it's time to look at doing a different exercise, right? It's time to look at how can we progress from something like laying on the floor on your side where your feet aren't even on the ground to something that's going to challenge your muscles to work in a way where your body's going to recognize like, oh, this is similar to standing on one foot, right? Kind of makes sense. It's a kind of a big gap from like laying on the floor with your feet not even on the ground to then standing on one leg. Okay, so we need to have progressive strength transitions, progressive strength exercises that really take you from something that's going to be safe, that's going to teach you about how your muscles work, into something that's really going to actually give you the coordination and the balance and the strength to, you know, not have to think about it when you're crossing the street with a heavy bag of groceries or something. Okay, so then another way to think about this, to understand how you can improve your balance, is actually to have a goal to work towards. Okay, so I think I even made a post about this a couple days ago. I made a post about, I think I mentioned something about you might struggle to balance on one leg for 3 seconds, right? And I received a comment that was like, 3 seconds is an eternity. And the standard recommendation is that you can balance on one foot for 20 seconds. So if you struggle to stand on one leg for 20 seconds without holding on to something, then it's a good sign that you need to work to improve your balance. So you probably know, if that's you, if 3 seconds feels like an eternity, then like 20 seconds is, you know, obviously way beyond that. So you might have to set a goal for yourself that's less than 20 seconds, but I just want to give you that benchmark to know that, you know, it's a good goal to work towards. It's a good reference point to say, you know, how far away am I from 20 seconds standing on one leg, right? If 3 seconds is an eternity, then you're probably going to be pretty aware that you need to just be cautious and, you know, proceed with caution and, you know, be careful to make sure you're avoiding a fall. And hopefully we could get to a place where 3 seconds isn't an eternity. Okay. So just giving that as a little bit of a frame of reference for you as you work towards improving your balance of, you know, it's worth it to time yourself and see like how long can you stand on one leg, and hopefully expanding that time as you go. Okay. So, one more tip for you here. Last but not least, learn about your foot tripod. Okay, this is similar to the alignment, but it's a little bit more of a user-friendly way that you can start to understand this. So a lot of times folks grip with their toes. right? And that is not a healthy tripod in your foot. And actually, there's some exercises that are given in an attempt to improve your balance and strengthen your feet is to kind of actually grip with your toes, like if you grip like a towel on the floor, or like scrunching it or something. I don't love that exercise. There's a better way to do it. If you think about standing on your feet, if you were going to grip your toes, right, like that's not really how we get the best balance on our foot. So, what is a tripod and what is a healthy tripod? So, everyone has a tripod in their foot. It's just the way that your kind of alignment triangulates to balance on top of one leg. But that tripod might look different for different people. So you want to get to know what your tripod is and then work towards improving it. So a healthy tripod, if I just put my hand up here and I'm going to pretend like this is the sole of my foot, right? So like this would be the heel and this would be the front of the foot pad and these would be the toes. Okay, so a healthy tripod is going to be your heel, your big toe mound, and your pinky toe mound, right? Obviously the thumb's actually over here, so whatever. We're gonna think that this is the big toe mound, this is the pinky toe mound, and then this is the heel. And so you want like a nice healthy triangle between those 3 points. And then when we create a lifted arch, it becomes a tripod. So you might notice when you try to stand on one foot, I call it a teeter-totter, right? If you can only be on the inside or the outside and you kind of have to go back and forth, but it's hard to get both the outside and the inside of the foot evenly balanced on the floor at the same time, then you don't have a good tripod between the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound, right? Similarly, you might really struggle to have the heel well balanced on your tripod. You might notice that your heel just really rolls in and that it's hard to find like the middle of your heel when you're balancing. So get to know your tripod and you can work towards just having a nice balanced tripod between your heel, just the middle of your heel, the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound. And that can take you a really far way without having to get too much into the complexity of biomechanics. That can take you a really far way into improving your balance and improving your alignment as you also improve your strength in your balance. So there you have it, my friends. I hope that gives you some beneficial information, some tips and some tricks that help you to start to improve your balance. Okay, definitely comment below. I'm curious to hear if this resonates with you, if you find this helpful. And thanks again for joining me. So before you go, if you found this information helpful, then here's what I want you to do. I would love for you to be on my newsletter. And the reason why is because I actually send out an email every week with the link to this weekly tutorial that I do. It's not always about balance. Sometimes it changes. Sometimes it's about low back pain. Sometimes it's just about how to maintain consistency in kind of your wellness and your fitness and your health goals. So if you get on my newsletter, then you're going to receive a weekly email that has a link directly to these tutorials. And it's just a place where you can easily access. I usually keep it under 15 minutes. It's a super easy way for you to just have a little bit of like support and guidance along your health and fitness journey. So you can simply message me with your name and your email address, and I'll put you on my newsletter. Feel free to reach out. You also get to ask questions, which I will then answer in the video live. So I also have that in the newsletter, a way for you to respond and ask your questions, offer feedback. It's definitely super interactive. So that is it for today, my friends. You can catch the replays to all previous episodes on YouTube. You can find me there under Limber Arts. My website is limberarts.com. I go live on Facebook and do these tutorials every week at 11 a.m. Pacific. And I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.